I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hanson?
Here.
Councilor Grasso?
Here.
Councilor Farini?
Here.
Councilor Marchand?
Here.
Councilor Penelakis?
Here.
Councilor Hines?
Here.
Councilor Reynolds?
Here.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Here.
I'd like to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer, and then Councilor Marchand will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by God Bless America.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America. Now we have a proclamation for our esteemed Chief of Police, Michael Magnet, and I am going to have the Assistant Mayor read the proclamation because I'm all out of breath.
Chief Magnet, if you would stand before the podium as I read this proclamation. City Council Chambers, City Hall, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, proclamation. Whereas after surviving a ride-along with Officer Lloyd Tibbetts, Michael J. Magnet began working as a Portsmouth police officer on June 30th, 1979, and embarked on a career of service and dedication to the people of Portsmouth, acquiring a reputation for directness and honesty. And whereas he has served and contributed to virtually every division within the police department, beginning with the patrol division, working difficult cases as a detective, contributing to the structure and management of the police department as an administrative commander, and being known for an eagle's eye attention to detail, fiscal responsibility, and long hours beyond the workday's end. And whereas through these 2.5 decades of service, he has managed to have perfect hair, and since becoming police chief, has started coloring it platinum on the sides in an ever-widening van, has taken to wearing glasses and a Mr. Rogers sweater, even in the summertime, as to add to his command presence, and continues to pursue physical fitness as a jogger able to leap tall curbs at a single bound. Nonetheless, he continues to invigorate and pursue Portsmouth award-winning community policing, expanding and enforcing the efforts addressing underage drinking and alcohol compliance, speed and motor vehicle laws, and groundbreaking internet safety, while seeing that he provides Portsmouth residents and visitors with the most professional and highly trained police force possible. Therefore, I, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, proclaim honor and heartfelt thanks to Chief Michael J. Magnet for his contributions and high professional standards through these 25 years of service to the City of Portsmouth and its residents. Given my hand and seal, the City of Portsmouth on the 12th day of July, 2004, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of Portsmouth.
I want to replace Mr. Rogers and wear a proper shirt. I must say that I didn't do all of the proclamation, but I thought it was great. That's what we need, some light tonight. And when I watch Gunsmoke, all they do is drink coffee. So I brought you a coffee cup. Say a few words, Mike. Oh, thank you very much, Assistant Mayor. Say a few words.
Something's fun. I really would like to know where you got some of that information from, though.
It's a secret.
Although a good police officer always protects his or her sources. I think it's kind of ironic, man. I was just sitting here thinking that we both started our careers in Portsmouth walking the beat together. So now I'm mayor. I mean, you're mayor. I'm chief.
Okay. In conclusion, thank you.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know why they came out, because I would not trade with you whatsoever. I've always admired your strong desire to make Portsmouth a better place to live, and it's a standard that I've tried to set for myself as well. So receiving this proclamation from you makes it that much more special. When I came in, somebody in the back of the room stopped my family and myself, and they said, you know, are you 25 years? That's incredible. Are you going to do another 25 years? And I said, I'd do it standing on my head. And my wife responded, that's because there's nothing in it. But all kidding aside, in 1979, Marshall Remick gave me my chance, my opportunity. And several years later, Bill Mortimer taught me some of the values and principles of police work and drilled into me that it's all about people. And he continues to drill that into me whenever I see him. And Brad Russ along the way taught me to be tenacious when it comes to pushing through change. And I guess looking back, in 1979, I came to Portsmouth in a 1972 Buick Skylark, and the city has provided me with a lot of opportunities, and I consider myself very lucky and very fortunate. It certainly has given to me a lot more than I have given back to it. It's a great city to work for. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. I'm very lucky that I've had a lot of support from the council and councilors in the past, police commissioners and leaders in the police department. And most of all, I've had support of my lovely family, my wife, and my lovely daughter, Dana. And I just want to thank you very much, and maybe I'll see you again in the year 2029.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. All right, now we're down to the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting for June 21st and June 28th, 2004.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now we're to the public comment session, which you all know how that works, 3 minutes. And we only have 2 speakers tonight, so that's a plus. Yes, you come right up to the mic, Mrs. Horrigan. And she's going to speak about the South Mill Pond.
Hello, my name is Cliff Horrigan. I live on Elm Avenue, just 2 blocks west of here. I walk all around this area for both recreation and on my daily business. I'm also a volunteer for Great Bay Coast Watch. And I first want to thank the city for the very complicated sewer separation project that we have been on for at least 2 years now, and I know it's ongoing. It's messy and noisy and dusty and disruptive it's been. We're already beginning to see the positive outcome of it. Self-built pond is getting better, and it's much better. And finally, the park is beginning to reemerge from under all the construction. So I want to thank you. We needed that, and it's coming along nicely. I think they're doing a good job. So in relation to that, there are a couple of comments I want to make that go with that. First of all, I would like to recommend, plead, beg, I don't know what the proper term is, the city to leave the tide gate by the fish market down here on Pleasant Street open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Leave it open all of the time. Now that we are not putting sewerage in there as we have been for 250 years, it's time to let it become the sort of focal point it could be for this area. By closing the gate, particularly in the summer, it makes the pond go anaerobic. It heats up, it loses its oxygen. If it doesn't have oxygen, everything in there dies. The fish, the mussels, and the oysters, and the cordgrass at the middle school children or students work so hard to get in there. And so I recommend that we leave it open so everything will stay healthy in there. That will clean up the water, aerate the water, allow the mummy chugs to come back. And if the mummy chugs come back and the other fish like sticklebacks and silversides, then they will eat the mosquito larvae. So by leaving the gate open, we not only save a little money by not sending the public works person down there twice a week to close and then open it, we would have a pond that no longer smelled, and it does not smell much when you leave it open. In the winter, it doesn't smell at all. It's only if it gets left closed, as it did for the 4th of July. And then the mummy chugs will eat the mosquitoes and cut down the mosquitoes, and then we don't have to spray them. That's my first request, and I feel very strongly that it should be open. The other thing is that now that the park's re-emerging there, you put a nice new fence along that got torn up for the sewer. Put a gate in there where there wasn't one before, and that's an excellent idea. There should be a gate there. However, suddenly, that gate is now locked, so it's as good as not being there. It may have had something to do with the fireworks, but the fireworks are over, and I recommend that you take the lock off that gate. And I noticed there are a lot of improvements that are going on. I like the concrete sidewalk that you built along Parrott there, and I was wondering, is it going to go further down? That's a sort of rhetorical question. And then the other thing that I think would help South Mill Pond Park would be if we could get trash barrels that had gull-proof tops so that the trash could go in there and the people would put it in there instead of throwing it over their shoulders, and that the gulls couldn't take it back out. So that's just what I wanted to say, that now that we put such an effort into the sewers.
Thank you so
I want to
very
thank you
much.
for it.
I was remiss tonight not to introduce our deputy city manager. Our city manager is on vacation, and Cindy Hayden is taking over. So I know she will make all kinds of notes about that.
And I want to thank all of you, city manager, mayor, and everyone else that had something to do with it. That we do appreciate what's going on there.
Thank you. The next speaker and the final speaker is Walter Allen, Sagamore Grove Waterline.
I knew it had to be me. Mayor Sorrell of Portsmouth City Council. My name is Walter Allen. I live at 1 Sagamore Grove Road, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. You have in your packets a letter I submitted to the mayor regarding lack of progress on the water line installation on Sagamore Grove Road. It is my understanding that the city is taking the position that we're not being cooperative, and that is the reason for the lack of progress. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm like hearing an echo in my ears. Okay. It is my opinion that the Water Department and the Deputy Director of Public Works are being deceptive in insisting that the state will not allow a water line to be installed in the 10-foot area beside the leach field under Sagamore Grove Road. That is not what the state says, as I state in my letter. However, if they insist their best option is to run it through Larry Hayes' yard, I have furnished the Assistant City Attorney a letter stating his requirements for written guarantees of protection for any damages or increased costs to his property resulting from water line installation, a copy of which has been handed out to you tonight. After talking to the Assistant City Attorney this afternoon, she indicated that the city would proceed to checking out his front yard and coming to an agreement with him. I told her she has the agreement, which is agreeable to him. But in our conversation, she reiterated that 2 or 3 times. They want to come to some other agreement with him. There is nothing in this agreement which should not be automatically an obligation of the city when they put something like an 8-inch water line right in somebody's front yard. However, in view of our problems with the Water Department's flexible and numerous policies, which are not in writing and keep changing at the whims of whoever happens to be in charge, it is deemed necessary to have a guarantee in writing, probably necessitating authorization by the City Council and signature by the City Manager. I reiterate, if the Water Department wants to run the water line in Larry Hayes' yard to keep them from running it in the street, a letter from him states what is acceptable to him. And my neighbor Larry Hayes is with me tonight. So I'm speaking for both of us.
Thank you
Save you
very
time. Have a
much,
good meeting.
Walter. Thank you, and thank you for coming, sir. All right, now we're down to approval of grants and donations, and the first one is the acceptance of donations to the Cemetery Committee. And I would like to say before we get into that, we have got one wonderful cemetery committee. They all work very, very hard, and Audrey Burnham and her husband, Erwin, are the best. And so we should appreciate them. Now, they've been out and about trying to get donations, and quite a few came in from the different places, donation, and their donation for the educational program at 4 cemeteries. These people, when they write checks, they put right on them what they want it for. The first one was, whoever wants to, accept these, make the motion. Why don't you go ahead and just read them off?
All right, I move that the council approve and accept the donations to the cemetery committee. We have $50 from Jonathan and Nancy Aldridge, $100 from the Farrell Funeral Home, $100 from Dr. Kevin Betancourt, $100 from the Holistic Health, Dr. S. Como, $100 from Lions Law Office, $100 from Mainly Gourmet, $200 from St. John's Lodge Number 1, $400 from the J. Vernwood Funeral Home, and a donation of $700 from Elizabeth Lamson to help with the restoration and repair of the John Wendell tomb.
Do I get a
Second that
on
motion.
that?
Second.
Very good. Any discussion?
Just a comment, Your Honor, I think
Yes.
it's absolutely wonderful and marvelous that people are taking such an interest in contribute towards this committee.
Well, they're hard workers, they really are, and they've come a long way. And when we started this, we didn't think it would go anyplace. So it just proves to everyone that the people want these cemeteries repaired. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to the acceptance of the police department grants, U.S. Army Electronic Proving Ground, Vision Scout Unit Grant for $10,900. Now, as we go through these, I hope you people will kind of read them so the people at home know what we're talking about. Do you want to basket them, or do you want to take each one individually?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'll basket the first two since they're both for the police department.
Okay.
And I'll move to accept a grant from the U.S. Army Electronic Proving Ground Thermo Vision Scout Unit grant in the amount of $10,900, and a second grant for the Bureau of Justice Assistant for a Bulletproof Vest Partnership grant in the amount of $20,784.
Second.
Discussion? I think everybody's happy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to the acceptance of Oxford Avenue Sewer Grant for $10,000. Now, I will be abstaining from this vote tonight because I feel it's only right. I live on Oxford. So, who would like to make that motion?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I would recommend the City Council authorize the City Manager and the Deputy City Manager to accept and expend $10,000 in grant funds from the New Hampshire Estuaries Program through the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for the, is that the right one? Yep. For the 2004 Water Quality Protection Grant Program.
Second.
Very good. Discussion? Being no discussion, we're all ready for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained. Okay. Now we're down to the no, we got one more. The acceptance of GBCF Strategic Focus Grant for $15,000. Who would like to make the motion? How about this end of the table down here?
Okay, Your Honor.
Make the motion?
I would be pleased to make the motion to accept the $15,000 grant to ArtSpeak. The grant has been awarded to hire its first director to implement agency activities and has been given by the Arts Building Community Fund of the Greater Piscataqua Community Foundation. This is a great start in putting a real solid base on an activity that has been growing in this city for an awful long time. And it's been growing simply because the artists that came here because they loved Portsmouth and stayed here in spite of the obstacles that they had to endure. Finally, I think we're reaching a stage where we can make it easier for them to be artists and not have to juggle the financial part of being here in Portsmouth.
Before we second that, would the
Yes.
maker of the motion be inclined to add the sentence and authorize the city manager to oversee the administration of the grant?
That's acceptable.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now we're down to the great one, the omnibus, and I pass that to Alec as usual.
I've assumed the chair in consideration resolution of ordinances, and we're looking for a motion for third and final reading. And the consideration of the ordinance is third and final reading of amendments to Chapter 7 Vehicle Traffic Parking Omnibus Parking Ordinance, April 18, 2003 through April 15, 2004. Amendment to Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7.326 and 7.327, Limited Parking. 1.1, Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7.327, Limited Parking 2 hours, Congress Street, southerly side from Chestnut Street to Church Street, except for the first 2 spaces westerly from the intersection of Fleet Street. Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7.326, Limited Parking 15 minutes, Congress Street, southerly side, first 2 spaces westerly from the intersection of Fleet. An amendment to Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7.326 and 7.327, Limited Parking, Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7.326, Limited Parking 15 minutes, delete Market Street, last parking space on Market Street on the right side before entering Market Square to be dedicated for police cruiser parking only. Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7.27, limited parking 2 hours except Market Street, westerly side of Market Street to Bow Street, except for the first 2 parking spaces from Market Square, the first which is hereby designated for police cruiser parking only, and the second which is designated as a taxi stand. Easterly side of Daniel Street to Deer Street, both sides from Deer Street to Russell Street. Chapter 7, Article 6, Section 7.601, truck loading, unloading zones established. Chapter 7, Article 4A, bus stops, taxi cabs, and horse-drawn carriages. Section 7A.408, taxi cabs, taxi stands designated. And Chapter 7, Article 4, Section 7.402, and off-street parking areas to be amended by the addition of the business validation program. Do I hear a motion for third and final reading?
So moved.
Councilor Grasso, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Councilor Pantelakis.
I just want to clarify that there was a public hearing held on this omnibus part of this, and that we now allow the parking committee to make an ordinance and send it over to us. Is that correct?
This is
That
the
pilot
ordinance.
program?
This is the ordinance.
Right.
It does come over. What happens is under prior authorization, we do these on a pilot program throughout the year. So some of them were 11 months, 10 months, 3 months. So it gives us a chance to try them. If they work, then we bring them back to you for first, second, and third reading, public hearings, and adopt it as part of the ordinance.
But the public hearing was held on this last time?
Yes.
Last time. Thank you.
Councilor Whitehouse.
Yes, in reference to the horse-drawn carriage saved space in the Market Square, they've gone out of business, but I suppose we're saving that place, that location, in case the business comes back in. Is that true?
There was a reason that we saved it. Now, I think it's got a bag over the top of it when it's not being used for that purpose, and I believe the Public Works vehicles use it to water those trees in front of the North Church and to clean up in front of the North
I knew there
Church.
was a reason. Thank you.
Any further questions? Are you ready for the vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to return the chair back over to the mayor.
We're going to have fun tonight because I'm going to return it to you shortly. The first one is under presentations and considerations of written communications and petitions. The first one is a letter from Walter Allen regarding water line replacement on Sagamore Grove Road. would like to make the motion?
Madam Mayor, refer to the city manager for a report back.
Second.
Discussion.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the status on this? This has been ongoing for quite some time. Can somebody update me on this?
Our deputy city manager, Will Farrell.
Yeah, Dave Allen, the Deputy Public Works Director, has been working with property owners down in that area for some time. There are particular issues down there because of ledge, wetlands, state regulations that need to be met through DES, and it also requires a significant amount of cooperation as well as easements with a number of property owners down there. So the discussions are ongoing. I believe that in Mr. Allen's letter, his second bullet point that identifies option number 2 is the one that's being pursued at this time. And we can give you a full report back on that, but there has been a lot of work going on behind the scenes on this subject.
So we'll know more at that next council meeting.
You should know. I'll provide a report back,
Thank
formal report back.
Very good. Any other discussion on this? I'd like to pass my gavel because I've got a few words to say. I personally think that they have been waiting long enough, all of those people down there. This has been played back and forth now for quite a few years. I'm guessing, but I would say maybe 6, 7 years. And they are taxpayers. They're all paying a hefty sum as far as their taxes go, and I don't want to see this bouncing back to the city manager or anybody else. I want to see this solved.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Assistant Mayor. Okay, now where are we? A letter from Jeanette Burden, Arthritis Foundation, requesting permission to hold the annual Jingle Bell Run on Saturday, November 20th, 2004 at 10 a.m.
Refer to the city manager with power.
Okay.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. A letter from Wendy Lau, Seacoast Science Center, requesting permission to hold the 7th annual Pond Boat Regatta on Sunday, August 22nd, 2004, in the upper and lower South Mill Pond.
Your Honor.
Yes, Harold.
Move to the city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Letter from Barbara Massa, Pro Portsmouth, Inc., requesting permission to hold the Snowflake Festival 2004 on Friday, December 3rd, 2004, and New Year's Portsmouth 2005 on Friday, December 31st, 2004.
Move to
What you
the city manager with power, Your Honor, and it seems funny to be talking about this now, but it's coming.
It's coming.
That's right. Yes, Councilor Pandalakis?
Is the neighborhood groups going to decorate the tree this year, or what? It seems that they've already scheduled when the flipping of the lights would be.
I think the neighborhood will, because they're the ones that decorate it. And but Pro Portsmouth does get involved with the flipping of the lights. But I usually do it, but with all of the children. They look forward to it every year.
Okay. We're not closing the neighborhoods out.
No, definitely not, no. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Letter from Isabel Gorup. Come on, Secretary. Katrupi? Okay, we're close. Madison LaCrosse and Jasmine Boyer, Little Harbor students, regarding planting a permanent tree in Market Square to be decorated at Christmas time. Now, I'd like to pass this to our deputy city manager to explain all about this tree and how it gets there.
Sure. The trees that are in Market Square are ones that are going to be cut down by private property owners anyway, so we're not going out of our way to go cut down a healthy tree, and those trees are placed there at the property owner's request. So no live trees are killed just for the sake of the Christmas tree. These are trees that were going to be removed anyway, and they're donated to the city.
Move to refer to the Trees and Public Greenery Blue Ribbon Committee for report back.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The next one is a letter from Portsmouth Commissioner Jack Kelly advising the City Council that the Police Department won the Robert Trojansky, something like that, Memorial Community Policing Award. What's your pleasure?
Move to accept, place on file.
Second.
Discussion?
I'd just like to say congratulations to the police department.
Right.
Job well done.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Pope Media Network requesting permission to film historic sites in Portsmouth for broadcasting on PAX-TV, the Worship Network. Somebody want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to refer this to the city manager and the city attorney with power and a report back.
Second.
Discussion? Yes, Councilor Whitehouse.
Yes, I think this is a wonderful gesture, but I'm concerned about the point of graves, having the cameramen with their tripods, 7 or 8 people working in the crew at the point of graves, which is a very delicate and holy area in our city. So, I hope if this request is approved, they be given notification that please treat this area with respect.
Very good. All ready for the vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The next one does not belong on the agenda tonight. That is the Newsrack license approval. Our deputy city clerk takes care of that, okay? If there's any questions of Kelly, you're more than welcome to ask her. All right? So we'll ignore that one. Sidewalk obstruction license approval, Molly Malone's Restaurant, 1A frame sign.
Move to city manager with power.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're down to the city manager. The city manager has, the deputy city manager tonight has 4 items that require action.
This first item is the Portsmouth School Board and non-supervisory cafeteria personnel of ASME Local 1386, their tentative 5-year agreement, and that was the subject of a non-public session with the City Council, and recommendation is to consider approval of that contract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Polling hours for the state primary election, maybe City Clerk would like to best address that one.
Thank you,
Kelly?
Deputy City Manager. In the past, we've always scheduled our polling hours from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and I would like to request the approval of the council for this polling hours for the September 14th state primary election.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Harold, did you have your hand up?
No.
Is everybody all set with the polling hours? Yes, Ned.
Quick question, Madam Mayor. Are those polling hours dictated by any state statute, or is it our discretion that they're 11 hours, or 8 to 7, or could we go till 8 p.m. if we wanted to? Or
They have to be open they have to be open no later than 11 a.m., and we extend the hours to 8 p.m. on a presidential general election only.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
This next item is a report back from the Planning Board rezoning request for what is now known as the Portsmouth Circle Business Center. As you may recall, at your May 3rd meeting, this rezoning request came before you, and you referred it to the Planning Board. The Planning Board held a public hearing on June 17th regarding this matter. There were no speakers at that public hearing. And the background on this is this used to be zoned general business when the Omni Mall was there. Omni Mall went bankrupt in the late 1980s. It was then became the Portsmouth Circle Business Center and was zoned office research. It is surrounded by general business, all the retail malls, et cetera, there. And this request is basically to just take it back to general business to be consistent with the zoning in that area. And that is the recommendation of the Planning Board is that you hold a first reading on that rezoning back to general business at your August 2nd meeting.
So moved.
Second. Very good. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Last item on city managers is the request for approval of poll licenses, number 63407 and 64408, which are in your packets. And recommendation is to approve those.
So moved. Do I get a motion? Very good. Did I get a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Harold?
In looking through the packet, I believe there's, am I correct in approving of 10 poles to be set out there at Highland Avenue? 10? 2 in one request and 8 in another?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. I was out there, they're all set.
All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any discussion on John's informational items? First one I'd like to say is don't forget to go out to the 5th annual Atlantic Heights Garden Tour. They always look forward to the councilors each year.
What time of day is that?
What time of day? Right in your thing there. Laura.
It doesn't say the time.
At the bottom, at 9:30 to 12:30, I think.
It's on the way on the bottom?
Yeah, 9:30 to 12:30, and if it's raining, on the 18th rather than the 17th. All right. Any other discussion on informational? Yes, Harold.
Yes, informational. I think it's very important. And somebody mentioned, and I might read just a portion of the trolley loop, what places they will be stopping at, so people will know, the public. May I, Your Honor?
You certainly may. Go right
The
through.
downtown loop provides convenient services from Market Square to many of the city's downtown attractions, including the John Paul Jones House, Strawberry Bank, Prescott Park, Pierce Island, and the city's outdoor pool. The service also offers stops at free public parking lots around the city so that visitors and residents have the easier access to the shops, restaurant, and other destinations. The downtown loop operates 7 days a week, every 30 minutes, 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. No service between 2:30 and 3 in the afternoon. Fares to use the trolleys are 50 cents for hop-on passengers, 25 cents for seniors and disabled individuals, and free to children under 5 years old. So it's a good service, and I hope it's well used.
Very good. Any other discussion under informational?
We also have a 3-day pass for $2, so if you're staying at the Sheraton or whatever,
Yeah, I've
you
heard
need a car.
That's right.
I know, it's a wonderful thing. Okay, now we're down to the mayor. And the first one on the agenda is appointments, and these are for consideration only. Blue Ribbon Committee on Trees and Greenery. I thought they needed one woman on that committee, and Lenore Bronson is very, very interested in trees. She's done a lot up in her neighborhood, and she truly wanted to go on it. So this is just for consideration. If anybody has any concerns before our next council meeting, please meet with me. The next one is a consideration for the Cable Television Committee. If everyone remembers, Jeffrey G. Landry ran for the council, did not win, but he sure was in there pitching for it. Jeff's a wonderful man, and he came in, in fact, he wrote me a letter 2 years ago asking to go on the Cable Commission, so that is where I picked him. So that's for consideration also. If anybody has anything against it, let me know. His resume, which is great, is in the back, and that's what I'm going to be asking for as applications come in. More resume information so we know just what they do. Okay? Now I'll pass the gavel back to the Assistant Mayor.
Assistant Mayor recognizes the Mayor.
Donations to the Coalition of Communities Legal Fund. And the first one is Tufton Borough, $5,000. Lincoln, $1,000. Newington, $2,500. The town of Newcastle, $500.
Do I enter and have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And I believe you have another item you want to discuss, Madam Mayor?
That's right. I would like to make a motion regarding the Portsmouth Fire Department's monument. Now, if we get a second on this, I would like to be the first to speak on it.
I'll second, Your Honor.
So what was the motion, though?
The motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. The motion is, oh, brother, I'm not with it. The motion is to move the firefighters' monument that's at Station 2 right now, to move it to our main Station 1 in downtown Portsmouth.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, yes.
Seconded by Councilor Whitehouse. Discussion, Madam Mayor.
I did this for a reason. I know you people must have received some calls, because I certainly have. There were 3 people within City Hall that came to me. I had a little woman call me the other day, and she was in tears practically, and she said, we were going down Lafayette Road, and she said, my 2 children saw the statue, and they said, oh, gosh, we'd like to see that, Mom. And she said, well, there's really no place to park. I mean, not being a Portsmouth person, she didn't know where to go. So anyway, she just kind of pulled over and put her blinker on. Well, she said, I knew better. She said she got sideswiped. But she said what I have felt for many years. You have got one of the prettiest and touching monuments that I have ever seen done here in Portsmouth, and it's in a location that nobody can really enjoy it or respect it. And that's why I truly feel, I realize that the firefighters help pay for this, but I also realize that leaving it out there so people can't see it is just a crime. It's a crime. That's the only thing to say for it, because as I say, it's very touching. I have put for the new councilors, I have put the cat's meow in front of you, and so those are what I give out. And I didn't give them to the old councilors because each one has them.
Councilor Pantelakis.
Yes, in all due respect to the mayor, I don't feel as though that this council has a right to move that monument without at least putting a committee together and talking with the firefighters and seeing how they felt about it. I know they worked very hard at it, and they really should be a committee set up, and they should be informed and asked their opinion.
Councilor Grasso.
Yes, thank you. I was going to, when I saw this in my notebook, and I did ask around people around where I live, and they very much would like to keep the firefighter there. I think maybe the shrubs around there could be trimmed back to set it off better. But my thoughts were to have the city council work with the Arts Commission. They have now the funds to hire somebody and to see if we can work together to commission a sculpture for Station 1, and it would be something where the public could donate, businesses could contribute to it, and maybe even get someone to underwrite it. But we do not have a lot of public sculpture in Portsmouth, and I think it'd be wonderful to get another one. Peter Hackney did the firefighter, and that's at Station 2, and it's a very, very touching piece of work. And for those of you who don't know, he also did the emblem behind us. But my thought was that instead of taking from Peter to pay Paul, let's see if we can get Paul a new sculpture by working with the Arts Commission.
Assistant Mayor?
Yes.
Could, with the wish of the council, could I ask the fire chief to come forward?
Chief, I bet you're glad you showed up tonight.
I'm always glad to be here. Madam Mayor, City Council, John Burke and I held a meeting at the fire station, must be a year or more ago, to discuss this very issue. As you know, with the Court Street improvements and the improvements to the front apron of Station 1, we've created quite a nice island out in front of the station. And we had envisioned, as we call it, Rusty standing there on that island by the flagpoles for all to enjoy. The sentiment at the meeting, and it was some retired firefighters and some staff that were there, they were split. Obviously, the fire department is split on the issue. Gentlemen that work at Station 2 like Rusty and want him to stay there. Some people at Station 1 want him to move, and some people don't have an opinion on the issue. The original intent when we built the island was to have the monument standing there because, as the City Council is aware, I have been after for a couple of years now, and it's finally in the capital to demolish Station 2 at some point in time and either build a new facility or relocate the facility to another location where Rusty's going to end up moving anyway. Like I said, the fire department is split. The commission is in favor of moving it to a new location. I think it would get be more visible at Station 1. One of the concerns that came up in the meeting was ownership, and as far as we can tell, the city owns that monument. The other issue was vandalism, but we feel with the being lit with the flagpoles, I don't know if you've seen the new area with the new flagpole and the lights in the ground that light the flag at night. It's quite a nice area. So we won't have a pile of snow there anymore. We won't have a lot of trash and sand build up. It's a really nice landscaped area with a sidewalk through it. So really, it's come down to an undecisive issue that is now fallen to the City Council, and I await your wishes.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief while he's there? Councilor Panalakis has a question for you, Chief, if you would mind.
How did you come to the conclusion that it belonged to the city?
I believe that the firefighters union was involved in that, and I believe from the sources that I can ascertain is that it was donated to the city. It's been sitting on city land for close to a decade now, and I believe it belongs to the city.
It was donated to the city. I was on the council when it was donated.
I know, I went to the place, but I still feel that it's very wrong for the city council to up and approve that without having some sort of a committee to ask those people that work so hard to at least be involved in it.
Councilor Whitehouse.
You know, I agree with the chief. Moving that beautiful sculpture into the city at Station 1 so it can be viewed by the public, by the tourists, where there's parking around it. I can foresee in the future maybe a stone whereby a memorial to the falling firemen. Over the years, many of my friends have passed away because long before breathing apparatus came into part of the equipment, many of my young firemen passed away because of breathing hazardous fumes in fighting some of the fires around Portsmouth. And I can foresee Memorial Day maybe laying a wreath at a stone and reading the names off as the police do each year at 2 cemeteries. So maybe we can provide another monument or a sculpture to take the place, the one out to Station 2. But I think this beautiful one that was done years ago by Peter Hackney should be in a place where the public can view it and be around it and see it more visibly. If I, because under the theory of never go down alone, if I can drag John Burke into this, if I leave anything out? Okay.
John, is this John who?
Steve?
Thank you. As somebody who sounds like some of the folks over at the fire department, frankly, don't have a very strong opinion either way at the moment. But I do understand. I think Laura, you mentioned a committee of some kind to look into this. Something that I would throw on the table, so I would offer as a motion, would be something in between, and that would be a public hearing to see if there are strong opinions one way or the other, and if there are, in what direction. There's a compelling argument on both sides, so I think this would be an example of where maybe a public hearing would help shed some light on the issue.
Are you making a motion?
Yes, so I'm sorry.
The motion.
The long-winded way of saying that's a motion.
We have a motion.
Well, we have a motion, and he wants to amend it.
I'm sorry, that would be an amendment to the
to hold a public
motion
hearing
already on the table.
As the chairman of traffic and safety, I've got to tell you, there's no place for the public to park right now to view that. So I just bring that out. You have to park behind the station and then somehow get around the station to actually view it. So that's a safety concern I have, but I just throw that out there.
Alice, the chief would like to say another word.
Chief?
Just in all due respect to Councilor Marchand, we've argued this to death, I think. We need to decide where the best place is for the monument, and as I said, the deciding factor here is if I get my way, and hopefully with the city council support, that station that was built in 1964 will not house us anymore. It needs to come down. And we don't know, as Councilor Hanson, you know, we've talked in the past, is that the best site for it or not. So Rusty's going to move sooner or later. Just where's the best place to land him?
Rusty's on the move. Okay, so we have, there's no second to the amendment, so the amendment failed.
I'll second the amendment.
Second, okay. So now the amendment is to hold a public hearing on this issue. Any further discussion on the amendment?
Just would hope that in the event it passes, that we would put it on with all due haste.
With what?
With all due haste. Get it on the agenda with all due haste in the event it does pass.
Are you ready for a vote? You want a roll call on that?
Yes, please.
Roll call, yes.
This is on the amendment. Mayor Sewell.
No.
Councilor Grasso.
No.
Councilor Farini.
Yes.
Councilor Marchand.
Yes?
Councilor Panalakis.
Yes.
Councilor Hines.
Yes.
Councilor Reynolds.
Yes.
Councilor Whitehouse.
No.
Assistant Mayor Hanson.
Yes.
6-3 passes.
Okay, now we've got the main motion, so the public hearing will be on moving the Rusty from Station 2 to Station 1. And maybe we could have for the public hearing where some photos or something where that would sit. Are you ready for the motion?
Would you have it read again, Assistant Mayor?
Your motion, Mayor, was to relocate the fire station monument from Station 2 to Station 1.
Okay, with the public hearing.
Subsequent to a
The
public.
public hearing. Do you want to put a time certain, or would you like the public hearing at the next city council meeting?
Want it right off, because we've been playing around with this long
Okay,
enough, Steve.
You made the
Long
motion,
enough.
you wanted it, okay.
know,
So
but
public
you're
hearing
on-
at the next city
Oh,
council?
no,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't want to cut off.
I'm just going to say, you've said that you've been playing around with it for a long time, but to the rest of us, it wasn't until Friday that I knew about it. So,
I've done it for years while I've been on the council. I've been trying to bring it
but it
forward.
hasn't come forth
I'm not
before.
going to fight about it, Joanne. I
Okay,
think we're ready
Steve and
for the vote.
Councilor Marchand,
Yes.
and then Councilor Pinlockis.
I think I just want to voice my support for doing it as quickly as possible, as in the next meeting.
Okay?
And I feel the same as Councilor Grasso. This is the first time I've ever heard of it. It seems the chief and everybody else has been having meetings over it, but this is the first I ever heard of it.
Are you ready for the motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. So at the next city council meeting, Deputy City Manager?
So no.
Noted.
And the next city council meeting is when, Deputy?
August 2nd.
And we only have one in August?
No.
Or do we
No,
have
two.
two? Okay, very good. Let's hope it'll be on the first one. Have you
Yeah,
got
August
time?
2nd.
That's That was the date that they requested, August 2nd.
Oh,
Mayor.
okay, good. Okay, now we're down to the Assistant Mayor, Hanson. What was that?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Traffic and Safety Committee action sheet and minutes, June 17th, 2004 meeting.
Move the minutes and action sheet of September 17th, 2004, the Traffic and Safety Committee.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Okay, heads up on this one. I'm going to move to accept and approve the minutes and action sheets of the June 29th Parking Committee meeting, and this was a special meeting, and there are in there a couple of issues, and as you know, we had the public hearing, and we had a lot of downtown merchants here and a lot of folks from the public, and we need your authorization to increase the rate from 45 cents to 50 cents for the validation program. So we've got 40 businesses that are participating in the validation program, and this was an agreed-to amendment.
So moved.
Discussion? Harold?
Yes. I'm glad to see you.
Second.
Oh, we didn't get a second?
I just-
Sorry.
I second
Okay,
it.
very good.
I am glad,
Harold?
Your Honor, may I? May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
I am glad to see in the June 29th Traffic Parking Committee meetings that they are talking seriously about residency parking permits. And they're coming back, a city manager is going to do a study and come back with a report. And I've been a supporter of this for quite some time. Residency parking.
Well, we're actually looking at a pilot program for two sections, lower Hanover Street and the Gate Street community, and those came from the neighborhood associations. You'll notice also that the item 3, Hancock Street, remember the signage was not up there, and we posted the 2-hour parking limitation. Up there, people just aren't using it. The space has been empty all day, so after tonight, we'll remove that 2-hour limitation. The spaces were empty on Hancock.
Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to Councilor Hines, and he's going to give us the update on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. site.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Martin Luther King Memorial Committee is composed of Al Jean Bailey, Nate Holloway, Ray Will, Margaret Britton, Jim Splain, and in the 2 meetings that we've met with Dave Holden for the planning group, we have finally resolved on a location which is probably going to be a lay-down site for the reconstruction of the Memorial Bridge. However, since we are not in any rush to create a memorial in the event that the planning board reports back to us that they accept the request for a site between the Carney Bean Center and the Memorial Bridge, then the council will have the opportunity to address that. We planned at this time, and I say we, I'm representing the council. These others are members of the Martin Luther King Committee. We plan to have a sculpture, a monument of some kind that's acceptable to the planning board and to the city council. That has not been designed. It will be with the input from the high school children if they care to contribute some ideas. With the city in general, this is a plan that probably will not be completed until early next year due to the fact that construction on the bridge will carry us through a good part of this year. So, having said that, the location we feel is one that satisfies all the people concerned with finding a suitable memorial to Martin Luther King Jr. The location does not have any impact on residential areas. In fact, it has very little impact on business areas, but it has a good exposure location. So having said that, we are going to have a site review with the planning board on July 15th to determine the size and the extent of any memorial plan for that area. Following that, we will then wait for the bridge construction to be completed, and after that is done, we will look to reconstruct that location from a lay-down area for construction to a park of some sort. So having reported that, I'm very happy to tell you that we have done a lot of work, and I haven't had an opportunity to report much of it to the council, but at this time I have done that. Thank you.
John, I want to thank you, too, for the great job you've done. You took on a kind of hard thing at first, and you worked it out, so it turned out to be very peaceful and nice, and I want to thank you. Carol?
Yes, Your Honor. May I ask the chairman of the committee a question?
Certainly may.
John, this coming Thursday, when you do the site walk with the planning board, what time will that take place, do you know?
The site walk has been planned for the 15th.
Yes.
And that will be in the hopefully in the early part of just prior to the regular planning board meeting. We haven't set an exact time on it, but we will be there at the planning board meeting and prepared to move over to that site.
So possibly 6 or 6:30?
I would say 6:30.
Okay.
The deputy city manager would like to address that.
It is right before the regular planning board meeting, and I can get back to you an exact time. I believe it is 6:30, but I'll confirm that for you, Counselor.
Asking just in the interest of being at my planning board meeting on time, is it likely that we will convene at the site?
I believe that's the case, and it's in your planning board packet, which
I anticipate and have and anticipate reading with great delight.
We'll make sure you're aware of where to be.
Thank you.
Open the envelope.
They'll drop breadcrumbs.
Don, you said yes.
I did.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. We're going to take a vote on. No, it's just a report. Okay, now Councilor Reynolds is going to give us a report back on his first vendor committee meeting, which was held June 23rd, 2004, and I did sit in on that meeting, and he done an excellent job. Now it's in your court.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate that, and appreciate your attending. Fellow councilors, you have the minutes of the Vendors Committee meeting in your packet, and there also was an article in the local paper about it. As those certainly I thought the articles were fine, and the minutes relate. It was a good meeting. There was some good discussion, but at this point, it is not my intention to propose any ordinance change having to do with the way we regulate vendors. However, there was one issue that was discussed at the meeting, and one issue that came to my attention subsequent to the meeting that I think do deserve just some continued thought on my part and discussion perhaps between myself and others. And the first issue was related to, as it does relate in the minutes, the scale of our, currently we give vendors permits on a flat fee basis. The same fee whether the vendor is a, small lemonade stand or, in this case, a mobile truck. as was the subject, the particular operation that was kind of the catalyst for this meeting. And I think that might just deserve some additional thought as to whether we ought to take that into account, because it was, I think, the relatively new nature of this operation, a mobile truck, which was parking in the downtown area, which was closer to a mobile restaurant than, a hot dog stand or a lemonade stand, say, than we've seen in the past. So I'm just going to continue to give that a little bit of thought and discuss it with people. Perhaps there should be a relative scale. The other matter that came to my attention afterward, just someone else brought it up, and it was something that nobody had mentioned and nobody had thought of before, was that we actually do give quite a bit of scrutiny, and there can be expense involved for downtown merchants, storefront restaurants located in the historic district. However, we give permits out to mobile vendors with no scrutiny as to their appearance and impact on the visual, appearance of our precious historic district. And so I think that's something else that we just, as I say, just deserves a little bit of thought, and I'd be interested in your thoughts, and just thinking about perhaps as you walk around and look, and I'm going to have a discussion with the chairman of the Historic District Commission, and, maybe it's an issue that we can deal with in the future.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ned. We're down to, is there any miscellaneous or unfinished business? Seeing none, will somebody make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
You don't